welcome back to the Four League Report. I'm Dan DiPietro. I know it's been a minute. I've had some stuff going on in my personal life, but we are back up and running here. So the finals are done. The confetti has been swept. Ripple effects everywhere. Knicks over the Spurs 4-1. Jalen Brunson is your finals MVP with a closeout game 5 of 45 points. Only Michael Jordan has ever scored that many points in a closeout game in the history of the NBA. Pretty unbelievable. I told you in the last episode that the Knicks were going to have to win game 4 if they were going to win an NBA Finals. And not only did they win game 4, they won it in historic fashion with a 29-point comeback and a final play by OG Anunoby with the second left, a tip-in with the second left that will be replayed forever. And don't be surprised if there's a statue of OG Anunoby in front of the Garden one day, because that is really just one of the most iconic plays in NBA history. It's going to go down as one of the most iconic plays in NBA history. You have the craziest comeback in the history of the NBA happening in a game 4 of an NBA Finals with a tip in with the second left. Just unbelievable stuff, man. Just I don't think anybody had this one on their bingo card. I don't think Knicks fans were particularly confident in this team during the regular season. You know, there were a lot of questions about Cat and Bridges and, you know, do these players fit? They gave up 5 first-round picks for Bridges. He wasn't playing well. His minutes were being reduced and then even pretty much benched at one point. Both of those players came up huge. And OG Anunoby came up huge. Shamet came up huge. And here we are. The Knicks are NBA champions. It's crazy to say that. You know, the Spurs at the end of the day are a very good young team. The problem, I think, is a little bit with maturity and experience. And, you know, I think they had the right mentality as far as confidence goes. I think, you know, that you could say that without question. I think that you could even say that they were a bit overconfident. You'd like to see Wemby come back with a huge chip on his shoulder coming into next season. You'd like to see him really start taking over the league, since that's what the narrative has been this whole time. If he is going to be the face of the league, it's going to start happening soon. And you just hope that, because this is a player of enormous size, you just hope his body holds up. But he's a very young player. He's 22 years old. The next best player is 21, and the next best player after that is 20. So they have a really good young core of players. They will be back. I'm just not sure when. You know, there's no rule that says that they can't get knocked out by the Nuggets or the Thunder. So we'll see. You know, we'll have to monitor all that. And we are already pretty deep into the NBA offseason, even though the finals just ended. We had 3-team trade in the NBA that sent Giannis Antetokounmpo to the Miami Heat in a complete reshuffle of the Eastern Conference. Really interesting move. And it was reported that Giannis wanted to go to the Knicks, but the two sides couldn't make it work with the compensation. So Pat Riley gets Giannis in Miami and pairs him up with Bam Adebayo, and we'll see what that looks like next year. We'll see how they build around those players. And in other news, you have Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics in trade talks. I mean, for what seems like the third time in like 16 months. So I think that the smoke is real this time. It's interesting to me that the Celtics were the betting favorite to win the Eastern Conference next season, and yet Jaylen Brown is probably going to get traded. The NBA is crazy, man. So we're going to go to the NHL. The cup has been decided. You know, the parade's over. Carolina beats Vegas 4-2. They win in Game 6. Jordan Staal is the Conn Smythe Trophy winner, and he's the oldest ever in the history of that award. He was fantastic in the series. He had he started out the first 4 games with 5 goals, which is pretty good. Brandon Bussey, the backup goalie, shut out in the clincher. I told you that I wasn't sure what was going on with the Canes goalie, the Canes starting goalie, and I thought it was a risk to put a rookie in that spot. And the Canes quickly showed everybody why that wasn't that risky, because they've had him on their squad all year long and he's been performing well. So Brandon Bussey with a huge showing in the Stanley Cup Finals, and you got to think that that's going to have some carryover for the Canes and what their plans are at goalie. So, you know, tight openers, overtime swings, double overtime drama. Carolina closes in Game 6 with a 3-0 road shutout. And, you know, as far as the offseason goes in the NHL, yeah, we're going to be looking at trades, extensions, expansion talk, you know, Austin, Houston, possibly. And cat math will set the 2026 to 2027 season roadmap. Let's do a little NFL. Brendan Sorsby, not exactly in the news for reasons that you would want, as far as the stuff with the gambling. He has been denied by the NFL to go into the supplemental draft. So that leaves him ineligible until the 2027 draft. Precedent matters. You know, contract extension watch, teams negotiating across rosters, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, among many names. Why does this matter? Well, eligibility rules shape entry paths. Contract timing shapes training camp depth charts. Watch guaranteed money versus incentives, all this kind of stuff. So what you have is a situation where the NFL and the NCAA are not exactly a well-oiled machine working together for the sake of these players. They're two completely independent entities operating completely independently of one another, and there just doesn't seem to be any rules in the NCAA. I mean, we have judges granting injunctions for players to come back for 5th and 6th years of eligibility. Well, where does it end? Where do we draw the line? There are no rules. It's the wild, wild west. And you just get the feeling that something seismic needs to happen in college football for changes to be made. And maybe this isn't it. Maybe it is. I doubt it is. This doesn't seem like it's going to break the bank or make anybody, cause anybody to force change. It's simply a kid who got caught gambling, which happens all the time, unfortunately, and he's paying the price for it. The NFL denying the supplemental draft is essentially them saying, "Hey, this is basically our way of telling you that you're suspended for a year." And it's going to make the 2027 draft that much more interesting, because if this kid could go back to school, being that he's had this injunction, and stay out of the news for the wrong reasons and stay in it for the right reasons and have a really good year, then there's no reason why he can't help his draft stock. I don't think that any team in the supplemental draft was going to give up a first or second round pick for him. I think a third round pick may have been even a reach at that point. I think that teams don't want this kind of PR in their locker room. I think maybe a fourth or fifth round pick would have been what you would have seen there. So this is definitely one that we're going to be monitoring going forward. Another piece of news regarding quarterbacks this time, it's funny, the Jets had a pretty quiet offseason, and everybody had been wondering when the other shoe was going to drop. Well, it finally did. Now, I will say that in this country, you are innocent until you're proven guilty, and it doesn't seem like any charges are going to stick against Geno Smith regarding this domestic dispute that was videotaped by his girlfriend and posted on Instagram Live, and basically spread like wildfire after that. There doesn't really seem to be anything there that would cause Geno Smith to miss any time. I think what everybody questions is, is he the right person to lead an NFL team? Even for a year or two, does he have the mentality to do that? I think that being a veteran and being in the league for a long time could help you. However, he has had instances in the past, kind of like his first stint with the Jets, where IK and Polly basically knocked him out in the locker room because of something to do with the charity event, and I guess he got really angry at Geno Smith, and maybe Geno wasn't being accountable for something that he said he was going to do regarding that charity. Everything is he said, hearsay, and it's been that way for years with that story. But then we have another little tidbit and we're not really sure when this happened, but Geno Smith got pulled over by police in, I believe, Florida, where he lives. He's driving a really expensive sports car, and he asked the police officer why he was pulling him over. The officer told him, because you've got the wrong tag on this car. This tag belongs to whatever car, and then Gino proceeded to say, "Oh yeah, I have a lot of nice cars or whatever. This my Lambo or whatever. I forgot to I put the wrong tag on the wrong car." Which, okay, I'm not gonna lose my mind over it again. But again, it's a question of maturity. And does Geno Smith have what it takes from a mental standpoint to lead a team that looks like it's pretty talented now all of a sudden? So that's something to monitor going forward as well. That's going to be it for the NFL. Let's move on to some baseball. So, really interesting thing happened. You would think that the Yankees losing Aaron Judge a couple of weeks ago and him being out for an extended period of time would affect them greatly, but it really hasn't. I mean, they're 3 games up in the win column, or in the loss column, pardon me, to the Rays. I believe it's actually 4 now because they won tonight. Their pitching is terrific. They have a ton of depth. There are questions surrounding the catcher. There are some questions still surrounding the position of shortstop, which Anthony Volpe has been playing well, by the way. So that's something to keep an eye on. Paul Goldschmidt hitting 300 with a 900 plus OPS was not on my bingo card, but here we are. I think the Yankees need a right-handed catcher and an upgrade in the bullpen. And if they get healthier come October, look out, man. I mean, you never know. This is a team that could absolutely beat the Dodgers. This is a team that could beat anybody. So, and then we have the other side of that, the other baseball team in New York, the New York Mets. The second highest payroll in baseball, and they barely have a pitching staff. I mean, I think their team ERA is like a 10. Their offense is really inconsistent. Lindor is still hurt. Now Soto has got a back thing. It was also reported today and corroborated by multiple media outlets that it has gotten so bad between Soto and Lindor that they do not want to play on the team together at the same time. I'm not sure I've ever heard of this ever happening in the history of my watching baseball. I just can't remember a time where you had 2 players of this caliber refusing to play together on the same team. So, on top of the Mets having an absolutely awful season, it looks like they're going to trade Francisco Lindor, because they're certainly not going to trade Juan Soto. They're going to do everything in their power to keep Juan Soto and keep him happy. The problem that they're going to have is that Juan Soto is going to keep looking across town as this year goes on, and maybe even next year if the Mets can't get it turned around fast enough, and he's going to be watching the Yankees in the postseason while he's in Cancun, and that's not going to be a good feeling. So the Mets have got a lot of work to do in a really short amount of time to start making sense of what's going on there, because again, it's the second highest payroll in baseball behind the Dodgers, and there's no pitching on this team. So What are they going to do with the deadline? I mean, this is clearly a lost season. It's not even worth talking about salvaging. I know David Stearns was interviewed by the media today or yesterday, and he said, we're now at the critical point of the season where we need to start making... You're now at the critical point of the season where you need to start making headway? Oh, really? Okay. It's tough to have any faith in what's going on there in the long run. I think that if I were Steve Cohen, I would be considering some major changes after this year, because you've given David Stearns, if you're Steve Cohen, you've given David Stearns some time here to make things make sense and actually look okay. You can't sell your fan base on the fact that you have the second highest payroll in all of Major League Baseball and you don't have any pitching. You might have one starter. Kodai Senga got destroyed today. He's headed to the bullpen. Or was he? Maybe it wasn't today, it was yesterday. Either way, it just doesn't seem to matter who the Mets throw out there on a daily basis. Whether it's Peterson, it just doesn't matter. They just can't get the job done. They do have some bright spots in the bullpen, but not many. And let's face it, I mean, the offense, there's really nothing that scares you, and they're pretty banged up themselves. You know, it's tough to see how the Mets are going to turn things around next year with a roster, you know, that makes maybe a little bit more sense, maybe a pitching staff that makes some sense. It's all going to come down to what they do with this trading deadline, what kind of prospects they get back, how soon they're going to be ready to be called up, what their current farm situation is with players waiting to be called up. That's going to be everything for the Mets. And I don't think that there's that much there other than what they've already done. So it's tough to have faith in it. And man, it's crazy to see that this team is in the bottom of their division with that payroll. It's just crazy to me. But anyway, you know, the regulars are still kicking it. You know, the Dodgers, the Braves, the Brewers, the Yankees. The Rays are still right there in the wild card in the American League. Seattle starting to come on pretty strong. Seattle's a team that I would watch. You know, they do have some good depth. They do have a bullpen. They do have starting pitching. That's a dangerous team come playoff time if they're hitting it on all cylinders. So, you know, next 6 weeks, decide playoff trajectories, monitor high leverage reliever workloads and starter health, and you know, August 3rd trade deadline. Teams are already projecting buyers and sellers. And with that, we're going to move on to the World Cup. So, the U.S. men's national team, I told you before this thing kicked off that there would be no excuse for them not to get out of group play. And they got out very quickly. So they opened up with a 4-1 win over Paraguay, and then they followed that up with a 2-0 win over Australia. clinching the knockout round spot, and sitting atop Group D with 6 points and a plus 5 goal differential. They finished the group versus Turkey in Los Angeles. A win will secure a top spot and a friendlier round of 32 path for them. Pochettino seems like the major difference maker so far, on top of the fact that this is a young and dynamic team. He has balanced attacking options, and they have a midfield that presses and recovers quickly. Defensive shape has limited clear chances and produced counter opportunities. The one thing that we should worry about and that we should watch closely is the injury to Pulisic's calf. Now, there's no reason to push him against Turkey. I wouldn't do it. They should just save him for the round of 32 and get him as healthy as humanly possible. You don't want to mess with calves. That's not a good thing. So, what to watch for next? Well, Pulisic's fitness, and can Balogun continue finishing the way that he has been and his movement, set piece defending, which bracket slot the U.S. Locks, that determines opponent quality in the round of 32. So, other than the U.S. men's national team, we have Messi, who, it's crazy, this is his 4th World Cup, and he's just scoring goals like they're going out of, it's just the easiest thing possible for this man to do. He was born to score goals. He was born to score goals in the World Cup. He's just absolutely terrorizing the competition. And then you have Kylian Mbappe kind of doing the same thing, but not as menacing as Messi, but pretty effective overall as well. So those have pretty much been your top players in the World Cup, Messi and Mbappe, and nobody's going to be surprised about that at the end of the day. So let's go to the mailbag. All right. If you guys have any questions, want to ask any questions to me about what's going on in any of these 4 leagues and including the World Cup, email me at 4leaguereport@gmail.com. That's 4leaguereport@gmail.com. Also, follow us on X, on TikTok, on Facebook and Instagram, and you could consume this podcast on either Spotify or YouTube, whichever you choose. We'll be working on expanding that as time goes on, but it's going to be this for now. And with that being said, thank you for tuning back in to the 4 League Report. I'm Dan DiPietro, and I will see you next time.